Okay, so I was able to get through part 2 and 3 of the prologue for the Idaho 4 Tragedy, American Tragedy by James Patterson and Vicki Ward, and I'm going to summarize it for you now, and then the next parts will be chapter 1 and so on. Part 2 has 1 hour later, so if you have not seen part 1, go look at that. It was the perspective of Chief Fry and his getting notified of what happened and him driving back to Moscow. So Fry starts talking about notifications of like family members for homicides, and he brings up Joseph Wiederick, and he was the kid that passed away underneath the bridge in the town. Now this was back in 2013, and it said that he had frozen to death. He had been intoxicated. But did he though? Fry makes the statement, student deaths are not that unusual. There's one practically every semester. Now, he tries to attribute it to car accidents, but these have not been car accidents. And I find that to be a lot. One student a year, I don't know if that's the going thing at universities, but that's a lot of people. And I thought this was a safe town, that nothing happens here. Apparently a lot happens here. And he tries to say like, oh, I'm a parent, I have kids, and you know, their parents send our kids off to school to be safe, but sometimes they aren't. And I was like, why is that, Chief Fry? Explain why they're not in your town. He talks about Joseph and says, seems like nobody in the community helped the kid by notifying law enforcement that he was in trouble on the night he ended up dying. And I put, why is that? Why are there so many secrets in this town? He states that various people in the town did see Joseph and that they didn't help and that they could have, and that they stumbled in, and he stumbled into their backyards and into their homes, but they did nothing, which is just bizarre. He states that he would have been locked up, meaning Joseph, and most likely given a criminal citation. I'm not sure for what, other than maybe public intoxication, but weird. He goes on to quote a Patrick Swayze movie called Roadhouse, and there's a quote, be nice, be nice, be nice. He basically says, if you treat people with respect, even when you arrest them, they'll thank you. I was like, no, they will not. So he says that Joseph was found in a lady's basement and that she didn't know how he got in, that he was lost, and he was mumbling safe, safe. Safe from what? He assumes that he just wants to stay and sleep it off, and that's what he means by safe. But is there something else to that? Was he placed in that basement? But the lady asks him to leave and that he'll figure it out, and she doesn't call the police. But it's like, why though? Then he's knocking on another door, and the owner says, looks through the window and says, go home. And the townsfolk think they're protecting him. Again, it's all about protection in this town, so exactly, they keep secrets. That Joseph's wandering around and trying to get back to his dorm, and that he had no idea where he was headed, but PD could have taken him home. Then they say that Joseph trips and falls, he hits the frozen creek, his body sinks like a dead weight through the ice into the frigid water. How do they know this? I mean, they know he passed away, and I guess there would be points of contact if he fell. But they're like saying like they know this for a fact, that they have it on camera somewhere, saying that he passed away under the bridge, that he just sat there and rest. He climbed out and then he rested underneath the bridge, and then he was discovered 2 days later, and that he drank too much on Saturday night at a party given by Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity. Again, with these fraternities, I can't. And then the next paragraph starts with Fry doesn't like to toot his own horn. I think he does. Then he goes to say that he does like prevention of drinking in the town, so he would go to Rosers, who is like the keg company, and tell if like there's a keg going to the wrong place, but who would call him from a keg company? And he was talking about 2 quotes that he likes, whatever, and then it says the Moscow police on his watch are to be trusted, not feared. And I was like, well, why would they be feared, Chief Fry? What have they done that you would think that they'd be feared? And then part 3 at the top says 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho, 2 hours earlier. Starts with Officer Nunez reaching out and talks to a Sergeant Shane Gunderson. That Nunez says, this is serious. Duh. And that Gunderson calls Tyson Barrett, his boss, the commander of the campus police, and that he's on call that day. And that Barrett knows what to do because he's an experienced cop, and that he was part of the previous famous homicide, the case of John Lee, a mentally ill man who went into a shooting spree in January 2015, killing 3 people, including his adoptive mother. And it says that Barrett has another advantage, that he's a vandal. Convenient. Everyone in this freaking case is a vandal. They've all gone to the U of I. They said that the origin of the word vandal for U of I is that It comes from the U of I basketball team said to have vandalized its opponents. Ew. Then when Barrett arrives, he recognizes Ava Wood, who's a neighbor that came out with blankets for the kids that were sitting outside of 1122. Then he proceeds to go down a checklist in his brain that says clear the residence and run the tape around the perimeter check. Call for medical assistance if needed. And he puts there's no need. Well, how would he know this? He just got there. And wouldn't the surviving roommates need to be checked out? Number 3, secure the scene. Check. Nunez has put up the tape. And then 4, call in detectives that will lead the investigation, which would be John Lawrence, who's about to retire, Danny Vargas, Brett Payne, and then the forensics detectives Lawrence Mowry and Andrew Fox. Number 5, notify the police chief. Number 6, notify the county prosecutor, Bill Thompson. Number 7, notify the Moscow PD captains Anthony Dollinger and Roger Lanier, and call the sergeant. And number 8, call the sergeant running the Idaho State Police detectives. Number 9, call the university's president, provost, and dean of students. Number 10, call the coroner, but not until all the evidence is collected. Someone might accidentally move something and contaminate the scene. There was tons of contamination in this scene. You could see it on camera. And technically, she should be there first to prevent any contamination, to rule out everybody that's been in the scene already. She should be the one controlling it. So, number 11, notify the public if there is a threat. So the university was interesting. It's like, why are you calling the university? They're not really a part of this other than the kids attend the university, I guess, but I thought that was bizarre. Then he proceeds to say that some random stranger knifing 4 people to death in their bedrooms is almost nil. But he was a stranger, and that there's always some type of connection, but there wasn't in this case, other than the knife sheath button DNA. So other than that, they found no connection between Brian. So for him to assume that was interesting. Then they state that when they got there that Hunter Johnson was holding a kitchen knife, and they were wondering why. And that he sits with the patrol officers, tells them what happened the best he knows, and then they just let him go. That easy. Then they say the first emergency vehicle that arrived is unnecessary. I don't think they're unnecessary. The people who are in shock that found the kids would need to be checked out. They say it's a volunteer ambulance. Why is it a volunteer ambulance? They don't have actual ambulances in this town. That it stays a couple of minutes, then at the cop's request, it leaves, which I think is weird. He states it's too late for anyone to need medical attention. But again, maybe the roommates who survived might need it. So that's where I'm at. And then it starts with part 1, the innocence. So I will come back, make sure you like and follow, and I will give you my synopsis soon.